Sandra, this is Crafty Little Things, and today this is project 3 in the design team challenge for the Happy Crafters team, which is headed by Anne Melvin from Positively Papercraft. She set us a challenge to design 3 different projects using the Spirited Snowmen stamp set, and I had this project in mind, and so I've used the Spirited Snowmen stamp set to make it. I've used this stamp, this stamp, this stamp and this stamp. So I've used these 2 snowmen and these 2 sentiments in this one. My other projects I'll link below. I made a card for the first one, and I made an exploding box and stamp candle for the second one. For this one I've made a never-ending gift box. Now this uses some retired and some current Stampin' Up stuff. You can see here, I'll run through it with you. I've used the 1 3/8 scallop punch, which is current, to print out Whisper White and Garden Green, and then I've used the 1 3/4 punch to print out a piece of Cherry Cobbler, all of which are current. I've used the Garden Green ink to stamp the Winter Cheer from the Spirited Snowmen. This is a retired ribbon. It's a stitched edged ribbon. It's quite thick, and I wanted a nice thick ribbon for this project, obviously. So that's what I've used there to make a big loose saggy bow. And then I've used the Quilted Christmas from last Christmas autumn winter album, autumn winter catalogue, for my decoration. And what this is it's 8 gift boxes in one, but it's not just 8 gift boxes tied together, and I'll show you exactly what it is now. So we unwrap the ribbon off. Let's see, things starting to move away a bit. And then what we have is we have a never-ending box, which is quite fun. It keeps on rolling around and changing, and so whenever you come to a box with an embellishment on, so here we have some with embellishments on. Whenever you come to a box with an embellishment on, that's got a gift in it. That's the front of the box. So each of these does have a box in, but the front of the box is where you'll see your that's how you'll be able to get your box out, where you see your little sentiment. Now you could add a little bit of ribbon or something to help these pull out, and then you pull those out and they're little individual gift boxes. They contain whatever you want them to contain. Mine are going to contain sweets, little crafty bits, and jewellery making stuff for my daughter. And I'm going to show you how to make this. These are all decorated, and it's just a fun way of gifting. I think it's a fun way of gifting. And I just wanted to share it with you. There's lots of things you could do with this. You could add little ribbon pulls to help you get the lids open and the boxes out. You could add a little pull where you just stick a ribbon under the... what you could do is, I'll just explain what I mean. You could add a piece of ribbon, glue a piece of ribbon onto here and have it just slightly overlap. The thing is though, to keep the surfaces flat, otherwise you'll lose the integrity and your design will stop working. So be careful what you do add. It's best to sort of keep your embellishments, like I say, nice and flat. When the boxes are full, they're a little bit more stable. They don't flop out so much. So yeah, so I'm going to show you how to make this now. It's much simpler than you'd imagine. Okay. So for each of the boxes, the sort of framework of the box, we start off with a piece of cardstock. I'm using Cherry Cobbler here, and it measures 11.5 by 5.5, and I'll put the centimetres in an annotation here. I'm going to speak in inches and then I'll annotate with the centimetres. And you need 8 of these, so you'll get 2 if you're working with 12 by 12s from a sheet. You'll only get 1 if you're working with an A4. So 2 3/4 then you'll score on the long side, 5.5, 8 1/4 and 11, and then you'll turn it to the short side and you'll score at 2 3/4, and that's it. And you'll do that for every single one of your 8 pieces. So 2 3/4, 5 1/2, 8 1/4, 11 on the long side, and 2 3/4 on the short side. So that's done. I've got my 8 boxes here. So now what we need to do is a little bit of burnishing and cutting. So just burnish all of the score lines. I don't necessarily think there is a right or a wrong side to this cardstock, but sometimes it does kind of look like there is. So it's up to you which side you use as your right or wrong side. Remember to burnish that one on the end. And now you've got all your score lines burnished. So now you take your scissors and you're going to cut out, both sides are the same, but you're going to cut out one side, and then that side will be your bottom or the back of your box. So cut up this long thin score line here, and then I'm going to just notch in like that, cut it away, and then I'm going to just notch in that one too. Okay, now I'm committed to this being the top of my box, so I'm not going to cut any more of that, and I'm just going to cut up these score lines. So wherever I've decided to leave my flap, it's the other side that I cut up the score lines. And I am going to leave them a lot of, I have made them like this. I mean, I suppose you could make them smaller, the flap smaller, so that you can make more out of one sheet of A4, but for me, I like the strength that all these layers give, because you do want them to be quite strong. Now what I'm going to do is, that's the front and that's the back, so I'm just going to notch in the 2 opposing ones. So I'm going to just notch in this one. And this one. And I'm going to leave the rest like that. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some Tombow, and I am going to use wet glue for this because I really want a good bond, because this is going to get jigged about quite a lot. So I'm going to use the Tombow. Now you could decorate your boxes before you stick them all together, but I'm not going to. I'm going to decorate them all when I've finished. So I'm going to pop one of my pieces that hasn't been notched in down first, then my 2 that have been notched in, and then one that hasn't been notched in, and then you get a perfect cuboid. Okay, so then I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on this flap, a little bit of glue on this one, and then I'm going to put quite a lot of glue on the end flap because I want that to be really well secured. Okay, and that's just how you'd make any box, really. That's just your standard box. Press it down with my Tombow, and then I'd leave that to dry, and then I'd make all the rest. Okay, so I'll just make one more with you, and then I'll leave you to make the rest by yourself. So we're going to just burnish everything. Do the middle one. And then, like I said, I'm going to cut off one of these thin strips, And then the one that I've cut off, it's the opposite side that become my bottom flaps of the box. And then as before, I'm just going to notch in 2 opposing sides just to take away some bulk. And then I'm going to pop some glue. You want your glue to be on the front side of that flap. And then fold it over and give it a nice good press down, and then open up your box, pop one of your perfect sides in, and then you're going to pop your flaps down. Okay, so a bit of glue on this. What I find is that if I keep one of my 2 of my sides nice and square and I don't notch them in, it helps me keep my box perfectly square. And you really want your box to be perfectly square with this project. And then use a bone folder or your glue pot or whatever to really give that a good pressing down. Press down that inside seam as well. I didn't do that on this one, I can't even see it. Where is it? So here we have our 8 identical boxes. Okay then, so now we're going to make the little boxes that go inside the main box. I'm going to show you a couple of ways to make these. They will have a way of getting them out when it's finished, as you've seen. You can either make them so they tuck in, or you can make them so they fold over the top. So I'm going to show you both ways. I'll have 4 that fold in and 4 that go over the top. Now the measurements have to be very precise to get such a lovely snug fit. So you're starting off with a piece of 11 of cardstock, 11 by 8 3/8, and again I'll pop centimetres on here. You have to cut, you know, you really need those really precise measurements to get them to fit perfectly. Now you are obviously going to need 12 by 12 for this, and you do get you get some nice sort of strips that you can use for edging strip, and you get pieces that are really good to use as sentiments or to use for cards, so you don't waste. It feels like a lot of waste, but it's all useful sizes. I mean, that's all my waste. Okay, so 11 by 8 3/8 then, and you need 8 pieces, and they're all going to be scored the same regardless of which design lid you want. So we'll get the scoreboard then. And the scoring's quite straightforward really. On the long side you want to be scoring at 2 5/8, 5 1/4, 7 7/8, and 10 1/2. Okay, then turn it to the short side, and you want to score at 2 5/8 again, 5 1/4 again, and 7 7/8 again, and that leaves you a quarter on the, leaves you a 1/2 inch on the end. Now, what the other thing you want to do is you want to turn it back onto your long side with your short, with that short score line at the top. So you've got your short score line here and your short score line across the top. And what you want to do is you want to score at 2 1/2, but only down to this first score line here. And you want to score at 6 1/4, but again only down to this first score line here. Okay, so you end up with, I don't know if you can see, but you end up with that. Okay, and that's what you want to do for each and every piece of your insert boxes. So you need 8 of these. Okay, so I'm going to crack on and do my 8 and leave you to do yours. So I'm going to start with my long side. Okay, so now you've got all these pieces done, you need to burnish and cut them into shape. So it's up to you. You're going to cut a lot away, so you can either cut first and then burnish, or burnish first and then cut. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to burnish my main score lines and then cut. Obviously I can't burnish these yet because I haven't cut into them. Right, so what you've got here now is, this is sort of my inside if you like, and this is my outside, so I'll show you from my outside because I think it might show up better. So here is our lid. So this needs cutting away and all of this needs cutting away. These are the sides of our box, and this little strip here is how we're going to join those. And these are the flaps at the bottom, so we don't need that. And we cut up these score lines. Okay, so we'll start off by cutting across and getting rid of this. Again, don't throw this away because we will use this when we're decorating the box later. So cut all of that away. Leave that piece there, that 1/2 inch score line. Then you cut down your 1/2 inch score line on your other side and cut across there like so. So you've left yourself a square with the edges attached. Now this is going to join our box together, so notch that in, notch it in to that score line, and then cut this away because this is the bottom of the box, the flaps that go together to make the box, so we don't need that. Now we cut up these exactly the same as we did for the outside boxes. We cut up these pieces and these score lines, and then every other one we notch in just to get rid of some of that bulk. Exactly as we did with the other box. The only difference with this one is that we've got that lid at the top. So we've got that flap there. And like I say, keep hold of all your scraps, apart from these little fiddly bits, because you're going to need them. Right, now to do a lid that folds in on itself, cut up that little score line there on each side. So we're going to cut up this little score line here. And very slightly notch it in. Just helps it to fold over, to slot into the box a little bit better. Only slightly. And now we're going to cut away these little squares on the end. Okay. And we're going to leave it at that for now, because sometimes that will fit in nice and snugly and it'll fold down, and other times you need to trim off a little bit. What we do need to do though is just burnish these score lines because we haven't done those yet. Okay. And now we put it together exactly the same as we did the other box. We put glue. My desk is so messy you won't believe it if you could see it. You put glue on this flap here on the outside, fold it over, press it down, just like we did with the outside boxes. And then just pop that. Don't put it in yet because you don't know if it's going to fit or not. What I'd do for these is I'd put the back flap down first, because this is obviously the front of the box, so it looks nice and neat once it comes out. Put a bit of glue on each of the flaps that have been notched in. Pop those down, and then glue there. Okay, and then make that nice and square. Get the bone folder, give that a nice push down and into your corners. Now, as I said, this will either fold in nice and snugly, or you'll need to do some trimming. I'm going to need to do some trimming on this one. So all I do is just trim, just notch in the flaps slightly. Don't notch them in a lot at first, because you can always cut off but you can't add. And then try it again. And there we go. That's a nice snug finish now. So that's how to do one that slots in. And then we get one of our outer boxes, make sure it fits. Oh, perfect. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to do one that goes onto the outside of the box, if you like. So what we want to do is, again, we're going to cut up the same way we did before. So we're going to cut away all of this up to this score line. We want to keep that. So you cut across up to that lid, extra score line we did for the lid. That piece away as well. Notch in this piece because this is our flap that we use to join the boxes together, and then cut away that piece. And then we cut up all of these pieces that are at the other end to the lid. This is just standard box making, but I am sort of treating this as if somebody's never made a box before, because I think this is just such a lovely project that it might hopefully encourage people to have a go at making it, and they might be first time paper crafters, which would be great. Keep your bigger pieces because you'll use them later maybe. Now this time for the this lid piece, what we want to do is we want to cut across that line and the line on the opposite side to free the lid flaps up. But we don't want to notch those in this time. And then we just want to cut one side like that. So we've just freed that flap up a little bit and then do it on the other side. So we're not cutting that corner out, we're just slicing up it. Okay, so we've made little flaps on the edge. Okay, now we can burnish everything. Push our lid down and then burnish all of these flaps forward. Now again, sometimes you'll find you do need to do a little bit of a notch in on these, but wait until the end just to check if you do need to or not. Now we're just going to join it together, some glue on this flap. That needs to be a really good join, that. So do really give it a good press down. And then the same again, this is the back, so I'm going to put the back down first. And I'm going to pop some glue on the two notched flaps, pop those down. And then cover that to get a nice finish. And now what we want to do is we do want to just notch in these little bits, so just a tiny slither off those corner flaps, just so that they fit nice and snug. But it's so tiny, you just want to really make it, be really careful and just get a tiny slither off. And then you want to pop some glue on the outside of those flaps, and then just fold them in so you're making yourself a proper box lid, and hold it for 5. And with Tombow that's normally all you need. Although it'll probably make me look a liar and pop open again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now keep your little flaps either side of your box, and then pop your lid down, and you've got a box with a lid like so. So I'm going to make half, I mean these little ends here, they are sort of popping out a little bit, so you might want to just notch a tiny little bit out of them, not a lot, because you want your lid to fit quite tightly. Okay, and let's see if it fits into one of our boxes. It fits, it fits, definitely fits, but obviously it's a little harder to get in, just to make sure those flaps are all right down. With the other style, they're well tucked away. But again, this will be, you know, we're going to put a pulley on to get it out, of a pulley of some sort to get it out. Right, so I have all my boxes made, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to decorate the sides of these boxes. Now what I need is, I need to keep my design very flat, so you can't go building up loads. So I'm going to put a piece of DSP on the 4 outside, I'm not going to put one on the back, on the 4 outside pieces, and I'm going to put a design on the top. So in total I'm going to need 5 pieces of DSP, which measures 2 3/8 square for each piece. So I'm going to need 40, 5/8 40, yeah. So I'm going to need 40 pieces of 2 3/8 square pieces of DSP. And then on the top only, I'm going to put the snowman motif, so I need 8 snowman motifs, or if I'm going to use the sentiments, whatever I'm going to do, I need to put those on. For this, we also need 40 for these, because we have to decorate the back, but these need to be slightly bigger, so these need to be 2 5/8 square, because we want to get as close to the edge as possible, because we want to hide the joins. Okay, so let's get cracking. And that DSP, try not to make it a really thick DSP. Right, so these are my larger pieces then. These are my 2 6/8 pieces, and they're my smaller pieces. Push all of that to the side. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fasten the boxes together, because decorating them up is the easy part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the small boxes out. Right, so this is my prototype, okay? This is what shows you how to fasten it all together, and I've put, it's just made in very vanilla, and I've done a washi tape so that you can see where the tape goes. So what I've done with this one is I've got my 4 middle ones turned over, yeah. So my 4 middle boxes are turned over to start with, and my 2 side ones are like that, facing out. So the openings are here and here, okay, and that's how I've started off. So what I want to do is I want to take these 2 boxes here and these 2 boxes here and join them together like this, okay. Now I use the Scotch invisible tape for this because it's invisible but it's so invisible that I can't find the ends of it. So just bear with me while I find the ends. The first thing we do is line these 2 boxes up, get them really perfectly in line, and then stick some tape across them. Get them really close together. Okay, really close together and perfectly lined up, and then rub your tape on. Now when you've got that done, what you want to do is reinforce the other side. So all you do is you bend it back on itself, twist it until you see your tape, and then we're just going to put another piece here where that piece is, just to reinforce that. And again, put it on one side and then push your other box really tightly up to that one, okay? And then with this Scotch invisible tape, if you give it a good rub from one side or another, even if you get your bone folder and do it from inside, you'll find that it does disappear. And you are going to cover these anyway. So you want to do that set, and then you want to do this set. So make sure the boxes are facing down, get them together like so, get your piece of tape, tape it onto one of your boxes, get it nicely rubbed down, and then get your other box and bring it really, really tight and close. The best way I found is to pull it up to your body, and then you get a really nice tight join, okay? Then fold it over to where you see it on the other side and reinforce that with more tape. Again, push your 2 pieces of box together, put it on one side, and then really press the other side of the box together. So push it up to your body, and there you have that first join made, okay? And it's nicely reinforced there. So that's your first piece. Now your next join is to join these 2 side pieces, okay? So what you want to do with those is take your whole 8 pieces, squash them together and turn it all over. So now, like in this example, you've got all your open parts in the middle. And now what we're going to do is join those 2 boxes. So get your tape again. At this point you can take them off each other, pop it on one half of your box, grab your other half of your box and get it really tight and straight. Push it up to your body like that, and then we're going to reinforce. So again, we're going to fold, turn, and that's where it needs to be. Pop your tape on one side, push your other side of your box really tight together, squash it into that join, and there we go. Okay, so now we've got, but remember to turn them back on themselves, so you want your ends open. Okay, so remember to put it back the way it came, the way you started. So we're starting like this with open end, tape on, push these two pieces together. I just find it really easy to push it against your body. That's why I'm apologising for keep taking it out of shot, but that just makes me get a nice snug finish. Then push it together, and we want to reinforce this side. So again, half on one box, push the boxes together and press it down. Sorry, I'm wrinkling my tape, but it's going to be covered with DSP. DSP might get a wrinkle in it, but who cares. And then remember to restore it to the way it was. So you've got your two open ends here and here. Okay? So we can see what we've done so far. We're at this point where we've got these connected and these connected. So how we connect is this one to this one, okay, and this one to this one. So obviously our tape has to go inside. So get your tape, turn, how I find it best to do is to turn the whole thing up on its side. Yeah, turn the whole thing up on its side. Pop your tape on this box here. Then line this box up perfectly with it. Make sure it's lined up perfectly and push your tape in. Okay. And then we want to do the same here. So get your tape, pop it onto that box, and then wrap it over onto that box and push it down. And then we want to repeat the same thing on the other end. So get your tape onto this box, line it up perfectly and get it into that box, and then into this box, line it up perfectly and get it into that box. You can see what I'm doing. Now of course we need to reinforce these ones that we've just done, so turn it over, open it up like that, and you'll see this is where your joins are. Okay, so fold it into a square and then turn it on its side, and you'll see your joins are here. Push it together and reinforce those joins. Really squish it down. It might make it easier if you put your boxes in for some of it, because it'll make it more substantial. I really squish it into those joints so that when it's done you really can't see those. And then turn it back onto the other side. And pop your tape on. The clue with your tape is just to keep it really, keep your boxes really tight together. And that is it. Now this will come down, it'll turn over, it'll roll around, it'll spin out on itself. It's a never-ending box. Okay, and obviously you pop these in and it makes it even more substantial. So now what we want to do is start decorating it. So I'm going to decorate the outside first. So I've got my larger pieces here. I think these are my larger pieces, yeah. Got my larger pieces here. So these are to go onto these. So all my lids are having these same designs on. These same designs around the box. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my snowman to put on top of that box there. Right, so I've fussy cut all of those, and so I would normally attach them with a dimensional, but I'm not going to attach them with a dimensional because for the reasons I've stated already, is that if you do, you're going to stop your box from functioning the way it's supposed to be functioning. So get your snowman and get him stuck on there really nice and firmly. Okay, give it a good press down with the bone folder, and there you go. Now you know there's a gift in that one. And then for the others, the same thing. Pop your glue all around, get it right to the edges, stick your label on, press it down nice and tight. You've got your winter cheer. So there we've got our 8 boxes all covered and filled, covered, not filled, and our little embellishments on the top. Now I'm using this ribbon to wrap it all up in, but I was just thinking I'm just going to crack on and pop these little ribbon pulls onto the bottom of all mine. Which is an improvement on the one I showed you earlier. And there we go, that's all nicely together now. And then I'm just going to roll mine around until there's no snowmen showing. And then the snowmen are going to be a big surprise. So let me just take that off again. So then I'm just going to get some ribbon, just so it kind of holds them all nicely, and then snip off this bow. I'm going to keep it nice and loose and just pop our little sentiment on top. And there we have it, our lovely bundle of boxes. Yeah, so thanks for joining me for that one, and I hope you enjoy making it. If you've got any questions or anything, if you want to know, if you want anything clarifying or anything, just let me know below in the comments. Okay, so thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.